Every time you justify your choices to someone who didn't ask, you are quietly handing over your right to exist. You might think you are simply being polite, considerate, or thorough in your communication. However, behind this constant compulsion to explain lies a deep and invisible psychological wound. It is a silent habit that dominates modern relationships without us even noticing. You slowly begin living for an audience, instead of staying the main character of your own life. Exhausting your mental energy on external validation leaves you feeling hollow and anxious inside. Understanding why this happens is the first step toward reclaiming your peace of mind. Renowned psychologist Carl Jung noted that over-explaining is a clear symptom of self-neglect. When you constantly try to convince others about your motives, you are essentially asking permission to exist. You stop acting out of genuine personal belief and start acting out of fear of being misunderstood. This compulsion rarely originates in your adult life. It almost always traces back to your childhood environment. Picture a young child expressing sadness, only to be told they are being overly dramatic. Or imagine a child showing fear, only to be met with cold sarcasm or mocking laughter. In those formative moments, a harsh psychological message gets deeply internalized. The child learns that their raw emotions are inherently wrong or unacceptable. They absorb the idea that their feelings only have value if adults approve of them. To feel safe in an unpredictable world, the child builds an invisible defense mechanism. They figure out that if they explain their feelings perfectly, they might avoid anger or punishment. What began as an intelligent survival strategy eventually hardens into a lifelong pattern. As adults, they continue to offer elaborate arguments for simple, everyday choices. At the core of this behavior is the tragic loss of internal authority. Internal authority is your natural ability to trust your own experiences without external validation. When you lose this internal anchor, your self-worth becomes tied to the reaction of others. You develop an unstable self-image that depends entirely on outside approval. You end up silently pleading for permission to occupy space in the world. Most people trapped in this endless cycle do not even realize they are doing it. They convince themselves that they are merely being logical, clear, and reasonable. Yet beneath every long explanation is a hidden, intense terror of being rejected. Every time you over-explain, a subtle form of self-betrayal occurs. You betray yourself when you force a laugh at a joke that felt deeply unfitting. You betray yourself when you say yes out loud while your whole body screams no. You betray yourself when you mask your valid anger with rationalizations to stay agreeable. With each small concession, a piece of your authentic self is pushed into the shadows. Your ego becomes a slave to social approval rather than a healthy center of consciousness. In this constant state of adaptation, you lose connection with your inner voice. You stop listening to intuition and begin doubting every emotion you experience. Self-doubt gradually replaces the natural confidence you were born with. True psychological healing starts when you recognize that your feelings require no permission. Your feelings deserve space simply because you are experiencing them. Choosing to stay silent instead of over-explaining will initially feel extremely uncomfortable. The silence feels alarming because it highlights the absence of internal authority. Carl Jung called this difficult journey the process of individuation. Individuation is the courageous path toward becoming a whole, authentic person. It requires you to risk disappointing others in order to remain true to yourself. Cultivating internal authority means validating your own subjective truth first. You stop worrying whether others understand your motives. You step into the realization that it does not matter if they understand, because it is real for you. This mental shift moves your center of gravity back into your true self. True confidence resides in this grounded inner space. Your truth ceases to be a desperate plea for acceptance and becomes a simple fact. Communication transforms from a tense performance into authentic self-expression. You begin speaking to speak your truth rather than speaking to be approved. Many people mistake over-explaining for high emotional empathy or kindness. Society often praises people who adjust constantly and avoid conflict at all costs. But behind this fake harmony usually lies severe emotional exhaustion. True empathy means understanding others without abandoning your own boundaries. Self-respect demands that you stop treating your choices like court evidence. When you stop giving away your power through excuses, people actually respect you more. Silence acts as a powerful filter that protects your emotional integrity. Let us look at a simple, everyday situation to see how this plays out in real life. Imagine a friend invites you to a weekend gathering that you genuinely do not wish to attend. An over-explainer will construct an elaborate story about being exhausted, busy, and overwhelmed. They will offer repeated apologies, praying that the other person will not get upset. They spend hours worrying about whether their excuse sounded believable enough. In contrast, an integrated person rooted in internal authority takes a completely different path. They calmly say, "Thank you for the invitation, but I won't be able to make it." They do not offer a fabricated story or a list of justifications. They do not carry guilt for simply making a choice that honors their needs. They can sit comfortably with the temporary awkwardness of not being fully understood. This simple act of setting a boundary without explanation is deeply empowering. It signals to your own subconscious that your time and feelings are valuable. A common misconception is that keeping quiet makes you cold or arrogant. In reality, healthy boundaries are essential for genuine, lasting warmth in relationships. Without clear boundaries, resentment inevitably builds beneath your polite surface. Another myth is that explaining more will make difficult people finally understand you. Manipulative people often demand explanations precisely because they know it weakens you. They use your endless excuses to find flaws and continue negotiating your boundaries. When you withhold unnecessary explanations, you remove their ability to manipulate you. Your silence becomes an invisible, unyielding stone wall protecting your peace. Over time, this quiet strength filters out toxic dynamics from your social circle. You begin attracting people who respect your presence rather than your compliance. You can start practicing this transformative mindset in your daily life right now. The first step is to cultivate sharp awareness around your urge to justify. Notice the exact moments when you start over-explaining simple decisions to friends or colleagues. When you feel the urge rising in your chest, pause before speaking. Take a slow, deep breath to ground your body in the present moment. Ask yourself internally if you are sharing information or begging for approval. If the answer is fear of judgment, consciously choose to remain quiet. Practice giving short, clear, and direct answers without adding apologies. When someone questions your choices, let your calm silence be your firmest response. Expect discomfort and anxiety when you first break this lifelong habit. Treat that spike of anxiety not as a warning, but as a sign of inner growth. Every time you swallow an unnecessary excuse, you rebuild a brick of internal authority. You gradually take back the pen to write the narrative of your own life. Remember that you do not need to defend your preferences to deserve them. Your presence alone is sufficient reason for your choices to stand. Ultimately, psychological integrity means refusing to negotiate your fundamental essence. When you stop compulsively explaining yourself, the world stops demanding that you do. You convert that exhausting need for validation into a quiet, magnetic strength. You return to the truth that you were born with full permission to simply exist. No elaborate argument is ever needed to justify being who you truly are. Reclaiming your inner authority is the greatest gift you can give to yourself and others. Stand firm in your choices, speak your truth simply, and let silence handle the rest. What is one unnecessary explanation you are going to stop giving starting today?